So what do you mean by BPM? Have you seen the video clip? What does it say? So that once we implement the BPM, what would happen in the organization? Can you guess? Have you get any idea from that video clip? Yes, anyone? Do you hear me?
Create and deliver a good customer value through the
Okay, very
process.
good. That is another aspect of it, right? Creating the value for the customer. Why should we do that? Any business organization all depends on the customer, fulfilling the customer requirements, right? Isn't that so? If we don't satisfy, nowadays, of course, satisfaction is not enough. So they say that delight in the customer, right? So that without fulfilling the customer requirement, no organization in the world would survive, right? For that, since the technologies are developed and there are so many businesses out there competing for exactly the same product, so what they have to do is they have to involve in continuous process of development of their maybe administrative control, production processes, service provision, after sales service or whatever in order to satisfy their customers. For that end, obviously the BPM is the solution, right? So if we say would take another definition, right? Here it says business process management is a set of methods, tools, and technology used to design, enact, analyze, and control operational business processes, right? So in this definition, it says this BPM is a set of methods, tools, and technologies used to design, enact, analyze, and control operational business processes. So what is the here it says the main target is to improve operational business processes. Why we have to do that? Why we have to what you call that analyze and improve these organizational processes? What is the reason? Can you guess? Why should we do that? For example, right? Let's see. In our university now, you can get registration for the examination through online, right? Without coming to the university, staying behind at home, you can get the registration and you can select whatever the subjects and make the payment and everything through the web, right? So why university has done it? Do you find any difference between the existing online facilitation and the old version of personally coming to the university and going for the bank and make the payment, get the receipt, and come back to the university, forward, writing the letters and forwarding and so on? What would you like? Anyone?
As I think the online platform was pretty much easier for us.
Uh, uh. That is something very important, right? It is very convenient for you, and again, it is quite less work for the university, right? Administrative purposes, of course, the administrative control is there, and easily they can. It is easy for them to retrieve the documents and so on and so forth. So that what they have done was earlier they identified certain bottlenecks with the manual system. Sometimes your payment slips may have gone away, and they can't trace these documents. So then there is a problem of finding these related documents and so on and so forth. And there are so many stack of files of thousand odd students like, so that they have analyzed the process, and they came to know these are the bottlenecks involved with the manual, so that we go for the kind of a automated process like. So that is the kind of a improvement they have done, right? So likewise, any organization, so periodically what we have to do is we have to analyze the existing system, and we have to identify the bottlenecks related with that, and we have to come up with the solutions for that. It may be a technological solution, it may be a managerial solution, it may be a kind of some other kind of means of resolving that problem. So these things have to be done, right? So in the business process management, when it comes to this particular subject, it is a set of methods, tools, and technologies to design. So they are here we use the methods, tools, and technologies to design, enact, analyze, and control operational business processes for the betterment of the organization, as well as for the improved services for the customer. So we'll take another definition, right? Here, Kiran Garimella, right, 2008, and he defined BPM by saying BPM is a process-centric approach for improving performance that combines information technologies with process and governance methodologies, right? BPM is a process-centric approach. So what do you mean by that? Process-centric approach? Anyone? What is the process-centric approach? And then I will ask someone. Yes, Shivaruban?
So process-centric approaches where you focus on developing the organization strategies, like where you focus on developing processes, how to do processes better.
Yeah, at the very beginning, I told you, traditionally we had a look at, the things in the organization more, we had a kind of a more functional orientation, right? So we are pretty much stick with accounting and the marketing, HR, right? And the production and so on and so forth. We have these different departments, and we are very strict with that department operations. Right? So that is a kind of a disadvantage. There is a kind of a disadvantage for the organization when you are having this functional orientation. So that when it comes to BPM, so we are not worrying about the functional orientation. We want to get rid of that, right? That mentality. We want to eliminate this functional orientation. So this is pretty much to do with the holistic approach of the organization. That is the process centric we call, right? So that it may be, if we take a production, so production process, we look at that as a process, not a single identical functional area of the organization. In the production, maybe start from the marketing department, right? When they go to the market to market in their production the services, sometimes the customers may tend to say them, right? May suggest some product development. They may say, okay, this product is good, but you can improve this product by doing this. So they brought that message to the designers in the organization, so the product development, and they develop that particular product and ask the manufacturer people to manufacture, and ultimately that is delivered to the customer. That's the kind of a more holistic approach or the process-centric approach. So the BPM is pretty much to do with that, right? So that's why here they say BPM is a process-centric approach for improving the performance of the combined information technologies with the processors and governance methodology. And for that, what do we use in the BPM to improve that? Improving the performance, we make use information technology related tools pretty much with processors and governance methodologies. Maybe in any BPM project, the HR function is quite vital, and the information system, so the IT function is quite important, right? So these are the two areas, hand in hand goes to improvement of the processes of the organization, mainly the HR and the IT, right? So that's what we say BPM is a process-centric approach for improving performance that combines information technologies with process and governance methodology, right? And here we have to ask the questions, why BPM? Right? Here we say companies that undertake more extensive business process redesign efforts frequently achieve improvement in excess of 50%. You know that in 1980s, right? So there was a kind of a they called it BPR, business process re-engineering, right? So there what happens was, you know that most of the organizations, so it's like when we draw organization structure, like, so it's almost similar to a traditionally, right? Organization similar to a pyramid, like, right? So you can divide at the very top, you have the top management, the kind of a very limited segment of the highest ranking senior level managers, right? In the middle, what happens? You have these different functional areas and the managers, right? And the bottom level, more wider, right, the spectrum of the organization, where you find most of the operational level managers, like the supervisors, employees, and so forth. This middle level and lower level, there are huge number of employees, whereas at the very top level, few numbers, right? So that is how we had a look at the organization. So in 1980s, what happens was, and mainly the American banking and the financial sector, because as they face with difficulties in their particular existence, right, with regard to low profit and the higher expenses and so on and so forth, they want to restructure their organization. What they have done was, they adopted this BPR, business process re-engineering. So they eliminate most of wider this middle level and the lower level, where they can get rid of most of the employees, they did so very rapid, without considering much of the what you call that outcome of it. But they have to do it. They try to. I'm sorry. I don't have a way to sketch out that so that the pyramid type shape. They want to shrink it, right? So in the middle and the lower level line. So by eliminating most of the employees from the organization, they try to do that. So that kind of effort, right? Here they say they frequently achieve improvement in excess of 15%, 50%. But this isn't miraculous. It simply reflects the fact that most existing processes are less efficient than they could be, and that new technologies make it possible to design much more efficient processes. So that when you look at the any of the organization process, right? If you analyze it, you may come across various means and ways to improve it, right? So sometimes you might have seen the things happen last few days or so, right? So president called upon all the central bank, what you call that, the high rank monetary board members, and there is a kind of request from the president. The very next day, everything put in order by the central bank, right? So why is that? Because there was no one to address these issues, right? So they do whatever they want, and there were no real involvement from the political arena to tell them, okay, this is what you have to do, like, right? So no one to analyze their operations. So they whatever they come and tell us, and we take it as it is. So that is not the case. So there should be a way for us to analyze things and they identify the bottlenecks of the existing process and to improvement, right? So that's why these things are quite important. So that's what we do in the BPM, right? Simply reflects the fact that most existing processes are less efficient than they could be, and new technologies make it possible to design much more efficient. So that obviously what happens is the technology helps us to improve the existing processes, right? So that by adapting BPM, the one thing that we can gain is the business agility. What do you mean by business agility? Anyone? Yes. What do you mean by business agility? Anyone?
Flexible
What do you
and
mean by
being able to adapt.
Okay, very good. I mean, the rapidly they can. I mean, any organization, if it is rapidly fulfill customer requirements and the change and the flexibility is there, so that kind of a business we call agile, right? Very agile, right? Business agility is there, right? Agile business. And then next factor is the cost structure and revenue generation. So by improving your processes, what organization can gain? Just they can reduce the cost and improve the profit or the revenue generation. That is again there, right? And process visibility and transparency. What do you mean by that? Process visibility and transparency? What do you mean by visibility? Yes, I ask someone else. Yeah, Ishiru. What do you mean by visibility? Or else, Bhavani, what do you mean by visibility? You You can guess at least. What do you mean by visibility? The term itself visible. Visibility or the transparency. You know that when it comes to organization, right? So let's say that when we go to the bank, right? Go to a bank. So we ask for a loan. What happens? Once we request a loan, what do they do? Yes.
They check for your ability to pay the loan back, like your
Okay.
sources of income and stuff.
Yeah, very good. They do a kind of analysis of our repayment capability. But when we go to the bank, definitely what they do is they give a set of very bulky document set and ask you to fill it up, right? So I mean, you fill it up and you can come up with the business plan and so on and so forth. All these credentials, sometimes what you call that what do you call it? Kind of a security, right? So you along with the security, you ask for the loan. So then once they go through these documents, if they are satisfied as you told us that your repayment credentials are okay, then they release the loan line, right? So then we go and get the money. So but toward this period, right, applying for the loan and receiving the money, do we see? Can you witness any of the activities? So what are the things that happen in that process? Do we have any access to that? Do you? We don't have, right? We simply don't know what's really going on uh, within the bank, right? But once we apply this the BPM in that aspect, obviously bank can monitor each and every activity in that loan handling process, right? So that's what they call visibility or the transparency. So each and every action they perform, they can monitor. They have a kind of a visibility on that, right? So that once we adapted the business process management, we can identify what are these different activities in that particular process. Who are the actors performing these activities, like who is bearing the responsibility for that, right? So that gives the visibility or the transparency. It is very important for us to what govern this process then, right? So that's what the BPM help us in that aspect as well, right? Process by creating the process visibility and the transparency. Then technology enabler. The BPM is a technology enabler. What do you mean by enabler? Yes, anyone? What do you mean by enabler? Yeah, Darshika, what do you mean by enabler? Yeah, Shashini, what do you mean by enabler? So then Viraj,
Hello.
what do you mean by enabler?
It allows businesses to involve with technology.
Okay, enabler in the sense that is facilitating, isn't it? It's a facilitator. So once you adapted the BPM, what happens is that enables the organization to adapt new technologies, right? There may be automation, right? Process improvement technologies you adapt. So many, sometimes new softwares they integrated, right? Some process may be changed. For that, obviously, they need new set of technologies, like maybe hardware, maybe software, and so on. So that will improve. That would improve. For example, in our case, right, in the university now, most of the results available online. For that, what university has done, they have acquired new servers and the set of softwares for that, and some people, some examination, the employees are trained. So they now, because of that, adaptation of the new technology and the softwares and the hardware and so on, they are in position to release the results online for you people, right? So that in that sense, the technology or the ICT enables is the enabler for the universities provision of results online, right? That facilitates that whole process, right? For that, obviously, uh, uh, technology is a enabler, right? For the BPM process line, right? So this is what actually I meant by earlier, right? So that we traditionally had the organization, that on the top level. So here we say when we have this process orientation, we call it enterprise level, right? Traditionally we call it top level management, right? So it's a very limited number of employees at the very top level, and the process level, and traditionally we call it what? Operational level, right? All these functional orientations are taken place here, and when it comes to the lowest level, right? We call it operational level. Second one is the middle level, right? All these functional managers are there. So that the here then when we are transit from the traditional organization structure to the new one, right? More process oriented one. This is how you look like, right? And here the enterprise level, what do they do? Here we have listed some. The highest level managers, they formulate the strategy, right? So we talk about the strategy at the beginning, right? In order to achieve organization goals and the objectives, right? So organizations have to perform certain tasks. That's what we call the strategy. So that is, when it comes to the strategy, that is formulated by whom? Is that by the functional level managers? Anyone? Yes? No? That is by the top level managers, right? So then again, the process architecture, how does this different processes look like? That is again defined by the highest level management, right? So the enterprise level we call it. Then the performance measurement. So with regard to the managers and the employees, how do they measure? What are the credentials they use? What are the measurements they apply? So that is again and that's how based on the performance measurements only will be given what? Bonuses and the profit sharing and so on and so forth. That is again done by the highest level or the enterprise level, right? Then the process management alignment, how to align these different processes, right? So with other available processes like. Then the BPM governance, priorities and planning, how to govern these business management processes within the organization, and the governance and how to prioritize and the planning of that again decided by the top level managers. So when it comes to the next level, or we call it middle level if you wish, additionally that is how we call it, right? Middle level management. So here we termed it as the business process level, right? So here you find the different processes, right? And what do they do? They define these different processes within the organization, right? And again, they define specific activities involved with that business processes, right? They are what does these middle managers do? They do the process redesign. Why do they need to redesign the process? Why do we redesign the process? Yes. What is the reason? Anyone? Why do we redesign? Yes, Promo. Why do we redesign? Yes. Viraj, what is the reason for us to redesign?
Because the existing design is not compatible with it.
Okay, very good. So that once you analyze the existing processors, right, you can identify the bottlenecks related with that, right? The existing process. So what you do is if there are let's say that I hope that you get the term this non-value-adding activity, right? And in any process, what we can identify is there are value-adding activities and non-value-adding activities. There are some activities actually does add value, and there are some activities does not add any value. For example, when you go to a organization, if you have to be in a queue, being in a queue is a non-value-adding activity. It doesn't serve any purpose. Isn't that so? I mean, you as a customer, do you like to be in a queue? Yes or no? Anyone? Do you like to be in a queue? Yes? Danuka, do you like to be in a queue? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No one, right? So because instead of being in a queue, what the organization can do? For example, nowadays, in the government hospitals, right? So historically, what happens? So there are hundreds of people come to the hospital, right? So that since we don't have enough doctors to attend all these hundreds, what happens is there are long queues in all the government hospitals. But nowadays, what happens? They adapted technology, right? So that if I wish to go to a hospital, before I go and be in the queue, what I can do is I can dial their hotline, right? And by dialing their hotline, I can say I have this kind of ailment. Can I book can I have a booking for a doctor line? Right? Then they assign a booking for me and give me a time slot. So in that particular time, I can go to the hospital and meet the doctor. That is a simple measure of, right, taking a call and assigning a time slot for the patient line, right? So that instead of that, they may have come up with